Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, one word conversations. The sponsor of the show is I Am William Brown, a place where you can be yourself and live your life. There's a number of items there, and you can schedule a complimentary, introductory coaching conversation with me, and I don't know. It's a website. I'm like channeling Barb right now from yesterday. That was just kind of fun. As you can see, I'm still playing. It's still my birthday, right? And we can go from there. But how I do that, I show the cards to set the intention for the day. My U cards that I pulled for this conversation is: I am complete. You are unique. And my quote card for today is: be you, the world will adjust. So I think that came up a couple times this week. So it's going to be fun. So with that in mind, I will introduce our word for today, which is lead or led, or but where we will have a conversation around that. And as I do, I invite my guests in so we can have a conversation.
Hello.
All right. Good morning. It took a little, I was thinking about bringing you in, right? So this is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable.
Amazing. Well, I'm Julia D. Caneva, in case anybody was tripped up by the spelling of my last name. And I have been thinking a lot about how I might introduce myself. And I think it's fair to say that I have an insatiable curiosity for how humans work, just human behavior.
Got it.
I have other labels such as wife, identical twin, reader, polyglot, but there are so many and yet none all at the same time.
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love it. It's like I am my labels and I'm not my labels at the same time.
Totally.
And I get it. So, so welcome to this conversation. So
thank you.
How does the word lead land for you?
Well, it's funny because it brings up the idea particularly in the English language, as I've studied several other languages, where it's lead and led, as you mentioned. And I kind of giggled when I found that this was our word to discuss, because it seemed only natural to me that it would be lead. And in that sense, that's probably the route that I'm taking right now.
Right.
And lead is such an interesting word because you can't really lead as a single person, like a singular human. There has to be other people involved. Otherwise, it's just you doing your thing.
Right.
And I think that speaks a lot to being a human and community.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's what comes to the forefront for me when I think about lead.
Yeah, it is something, and I really get that the conversation about being yourself, right, and the self-discovery journey that I'm on and that I invite people to be on. It is that we are on this self-discovery journey alone with others, and it's not just with others. It's for others. It's like for ourselves and others, at the same time. And that's where lead comes in. And for me, it's that the more that I know myself and I step into my leadership, my lead, right, of who I am, stepping into myself, then because I showed up as myself, then other people will follow or come along with me along on this journey. Then we can work out together, and it gets really kind of like crazy. It's like, okay, who's in charge? Who's in all, all the,
Yeah.
I have all these other things, happening right now. But the more that we tap into our lead, our leadership, ourselves, right? Then we could be there with and for others.
Completely. Mm. And it's really interesting too, I think. Um, I feel like our sort of societal relationship with lead is skewed, if I can say that. Like I
Yeah.
in my former career, I worked as a web designer, and I was all freelance and worked for many number of companies, um, big and small. And so I was part of a lot of work teams that had varying degrees of leadership and sort of hierarchy. And I found so often that the leadership was not focused on, to me, leadership is sort of like the ideal scenario is where the person sort of bringing the group together has everybody's best interest
Right.
in mind and allows each person on the team to shine in the way that helps the team the most.
Right.
For me, that's what feels like good leadership in a work setting, like on a team. But I found that the people in leadership roles were there more for the title and the kind of high level responsibility, and it was maybe more me focused for them than about the team then.
Right. No, I have been in a number of roles as leaders. And the beginning process of that, there was that, hey, I'm in charge, deal with it, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I think that's the immature way of leadership, right? And I
Yeah.
recognize it, I own it. I was there because it was like you're stepping in. I was stepping into that quote unquote label. This
Mhm.
is what I thought what being the leader was. This is what I thought I needed to do to be, in charge and all that other kind of stuff. And it wasn't like you were saying that unlocking the potential of the people on my team or anything like that. Is just like making sure that they were doing shit right. Right, what I mean, it's
Totally.
like right,
Like
and it's
herding
just
cats,
like
yeah.
right,
Mhm.
and it was like stressful for me, it was stressful for them, it was like,
Mhm.
and so it's like I am not leading right now. There is not, this, it's just, it doesn't feel like leading because it wasn't right.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
For sure.
so if but I had the title, right? You
Mhm.
look on the door, you know Bill's in charge, right? Right, but it is that type of thing that I think that I have this be do have model that I work really hard to live by. And I think too often in my leadership in the past and some leaders that I had, there was this do. I'm going to do leader. I'm going to
Mhm.
do,
Mhm.
and instead of be the leader, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
If there's a being in my leadership and my lead, then it shows up totally different. And I think it shows up how you were saying that we are, hey, we're all just being here. Let's unlock the number of people that are here to get the task done, the project or whatever. But if there is this doing of leadership, it just comes down on you, and it's not rewarding, and it's not causing people to follow you.
Mhm. I mean, and I think that's a pretty natural human tendency, and
Mm,
especially in a position of leadership, because people are looking to you for
right.
answers, for guidance, and especially if you're new to that type of role, uh,
Right.
like you've never done that before, at least in a structured
Right.
capacity. And so it only makes sense that you're like, well, I kind of need to do this first, but while I figure it out. It's kind
Right.
of like
Right.
you can't explain it to somebody if you don't know what you're doing, and so you have to go through that kind of adjustment period until you can really like it's kind of, to me it feels like learning something where you're like, I can replicate this, but I'm just going to keep replicating it until I can actually explain it to somebody, and then you're
Right.
like, oh,
I
now I can
got it.
teach them. uh, it feels like a similar sense of momentum to me, where you're like, I've seen this before. I'm going to replicate it and try to make it my own. But then eventually I need to remember to come back to actually like an embodied experience with it, and not just
Right.
like, here's the checklist of the things I'm supposed to be doing as a leader in a
Right.
role.
I am. Yeah. I think it was in January or February. It was before Corona. So it was like I
Mm-hmm.
was like on, you know, I had like 3 books that I was reading a month, and one of them was Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and the one thing that I really got that she was saying is that we lead from who we are. There is a self discovery. There is this. The more that we know ourselves, the more we can step up in our leadership. And I I felt that, but like I said before, before that, I was in. I'm still in Toastmasters, and they have the leadership track and the communication track, and so
Mm-hmm.
and how you kind of like learn within the leadership track is that you take on leadership roles. And what I recognize that what you were saying, that as soon as you take on a leadership role, there's an expectation that things, right? That
Mm-hmm.
you got everything and all that kind of stuff. And I felt like, leadership training is like an oxymoron, because it is like
Totally.
it's like it's like you don't get many times you don't get an opportunity to learn how to lead. It's like you take it on and now you're leading, and it's like, holy crap, I'm leading, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
You're like,
yeah,
wait.
and it's like, one day, I wasn't leading, the next day,
Mm-hmm.
congratulations, you're the leader. It's
Yeah.
like, what? Right?
Ah.
you know, and so all of that stuff, and I really like what's happening in the conversation around leadership now. And it came up a lot within Brene Brown's book about vulnerability, and just really being present to your team and your staff and yourself, and recognizing where there's a gap, and not having this feeling that I had when I was a young leader was, um, if they knew how much I didn't know, I wouldn't be leading anymore, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
I'm not going to tell them that I'm like scared out of my mind right now, or I
mhm.
have no idea what I'm doing right now, because they're looking at me like, "Tell me what to do," right? And it's just
Yeah.
like, I barely know what I'm doing right now.
Mhm,
It's like, and so there was this hiding, and then creating this environment where people could not shine, people could not
mhm,
be themselves, and tasks were kind of getting done, but there wasn't this peak performance, or there wasn't this aspirational movement
mhm,
of things. And it's just that's um like I said, it gets really old really, really fast. And there was one job that I remember early in my career that I got promoted,
mhm.
and then I got demoted, but I still was like,
Mm.
you know what, you're a good enough employee. We made a mistake, but we're going to keep your salary the same. And it's like,
Mhm.
it's like, cool, I just got a raise. That's for
Yeah.
me. It was like,
Totally.
it was like a relief.
Yeah.
It wasn't there was no lead in me that's like, oh, I am so disappointed that I don't have these.
Mhm.
It was like, cool, you just gave me a raise, right?
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
And I didn't want this job anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Totally.
so it's just really, something that when you step into your leadership or your lead, or there's a recognition of that, it's in some cases there's like no going back. It feels like,
Yeah.
it's
I think there
you
is no going back.
right,
I think
right,
in most cases, yeah. Mhm. Mhm. A lot of what came up for me when you were talking, especially about vulnerability, is having a sense of humility and um, just learning to accept that, like, of course you don't know everything, and why would you know
right,
everything? And and it's okay that your team knows that you don't have the answer to everything,
right.
because that's the point of a team, is that it's like done together. And obviously
Mm,
it's problematic if you like can't ever get to the big picture because you're probably the person sort of setting the big picture. But
right,
again, with it being like a singular person, like there's no point of, you don't need to know everything because that's what
right,
other people are for. Uh,
right.
and just let them contribute.
Yeah, there was. I think it came up in the Billy conversation with Will. Is that um, for some reason we have this mindset, or I'll just speak for myself. Sometimes I hate to speak for we,
I do
but
that a
I
lot.
have I have this mindset that I'm trying something new and I need to know, and I know everything about it. I need to be perfect about it as soon as, because I decided, and not really recognize that at the beginning it's going to suck, and I'm going to
Yes, it
suck
will.
at doing it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, in order for me to get any better at it, I have to play through the suck, of it, and it's like
Mhm.
be committed to that. And it's just like, and it's, and that's how lead kind of shows up. Like, once you're aware of it, it's gonna suck for a
Yeah,
while, because you
probably.
just embrace that, and then it's like, okay. And people act like, oh, I'm a born leader. I've been telling people what to do since I was 5, right? It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, and try that now. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah,
Right?
totally. Oh,
And
man.
so, yeah, it's really funny what we tell ourselves, or what we condition ourselves to believe about doing new things.
Completely. I having a beginner's mind is like
Mm,
comes up a lot for me in my life, and like I've been taking Japanese lessons for about a year and a half now, and
mm,
I'm maybe at like a kindergarten level. I could probably talk to
mm.
like a 4-year-old.
Right,
And
right. And have a
so
great conversation
yeah,
with a 4-year-old,
exactly.
right?
Probably about cats, and then I'm feeling good today. Um, but it's been a really interesting practice of just every week accepting the fact that I simply do not know so many things, and it's like I don't know what I don't know, and I also very much know what I don't know in this case because it's like
Right,
vocabulary. But having the sense of like I get nervous going to class
right,
because I don't know, but why would I know? Like that's why I'm at
right,
class. And
right,
so there's still this sense of like, well, when you're in a leadership role, you just like you just bring yourself and your brain and
right,
hopefully plenty of sleep so that your brain is running on all cylinders, and like that's it. You bring all of your experience with you and everything, but if life has taught me anything, it's that life is just a series of present moments. And so
Hmm.
you just do each present moment.
Right.
And eventually, it comes together in some kind of cohesive storyline, or maybe a very rambling storyline. Maybe it's not
Right.
cohesive at all. Um, but I think there's a sense of like, just move forward anywhere into the unknown is cool too, and pretty much the only place to go.
Yeah,
And
but
not to like, yeah, perfect it too much before you get there.
right. And I think there's lead is an action word, right?
Hmm.
There is movement, right? And I had a friend, and I don't know if it was a John Maxwell um, quote or something, but it's like, if um, you're moving, I forget what it was, but it was like something that if nobody's following you, you're just taking a walk, right?
Yeah.
So you're just out there, right? So you're
Yep.
not leading anybody, right?
No.
And so it takes, and I think I just got for myself that even though that's funny and entertaining and it kind of gets that, but it goes back to what you were talking about of like the inspiring people to follow you is basically encouraging people to inspiring people to be themselves, right?
Hmm.
To kind
Hmm.
of contribute to this. They're really not following you. They're showing up as themselves and coming along, right? Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and it's just like, boom, it looks like I need to make a course right now. No, no, I
Yeah.
just,
Right.
you know, you know, but it's really, we get so caught up with, is anybody following me?
Hmm.
And it's really not about people following you. It is like, have you inspired people to unlock themselves so they will come along with you? Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's a totally different way to lead. I want to lead that way, right? Right.
Yeah, me too.
And you just have like this people up to stuff, and just kind of like, hey, let's go.
Hmm. Hmm. Mm.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that really resonates with me. I work as a life coach, and I have like I call it a strengths based intentional living coaching. And the strengths based is that you just really dive deep into what you're naturally good at, and also like just what makes you you. So the more that you understand yourself, the more you just go forward in the world, and you
Right.
can make your own decisions, and you can kind of, in a sense, you learn how to like lead yourself. And then once you understand yourself and the way that you sort of operate best, then you're
Right.
always like, at least for me, I
Right.
want to be in a space where there is space for me to be
Hmm.
that sort of
Got it.
best, fully recognized, firing on all cylinders self. And I think
Yeah.
that comes back to the idea of like a leader being someone who doesn't pretend to have all their shit together, and
Right.
also uh, makes space
Right.
to bring everybody sort of together and forward then.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like, I guess I'm on the party mode. It's like, creating a party and like, nobody wants to come,
Hmm.
because you're there, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
It's
boy.
like, well, party. Yeah, I like parties, but you're going to be there. Oh no,
Hmm.
I got other things to do. But the more that we create a party, right? And that's, I don't know why, like I said, I'm still celebrating. That's why I'm still thinking about the party. Um, but we create a space where people can celebrate and show up and just kind of like be and have a lot of things that can happen there. I mean, then, that's, the project that I'm developing of everything is possible. That's how everything is possible, because you have not just labels. You don't have employees. You don't have just people that are on my team.
Mhm.
You have human beings, right? you know, that are inspired and have the space to show up as themselves and, dance crazy in the corner and all that other, all the things that we do at parties,
All
right?
the good things. Yeah.
All the good things that we do at parties, right?
Mhm.
And just you have a good time, and it's like, yeah, let's kind of do this again. Let's kind of, and it's like coming back to your work, coming back to, to that connection. And it's just really, I'm really getting embracing and embracing our lead, or our leadership, our being our leader, is that that action, that movement, that really um, kind of saying, hey, I don't know everything that we're going to be doing right now, but I'm going to be there, and I hope you're there, and we'll just, we'll figure out some things.
Mhm.
We'll kind of make things happen. And I mean, that's a working group or team that I want to be on. And I think too often, when I look back at some of my work experiences and things like that, it was like, this is the gig, you know, this is a list of things that you're
Totally. Yeah.
responsible for,
Very
right?
prescriptive. Mhm.
And it's like, all right, I'm responsible for, encouraging them. Do your work,
Right. I mean, like,
check.
it's so arbitrary.
Right, right, I can check that off, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's like I
Done.
encourage them to do their job, right?
Yeah.
And it's just
So
all those
much.
things, those checklists, and there's not this, empowering and aspiration to kind of get people to really to move in that, and I think that's what our country is asking for. That's what our relationships are asking. It's just, I think it's just asking for us to lead and asking for us to be ourselves,
Mhm.
because it needs us. It needs us to be in our relationships, in our society. And I think too often, because of our labels, how we show up, our personas, we people aren't showing up to environments. That's when I talked about the mob, right? The mob is just a whole bunch of people that have some type of energy against something or for something, and the individuals are lost within that.
Mhm.
And it's like, and so mobs can do great things or horrible things on a dime, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's like, so there is like, that's group think.
Mhm.
It's like, there, I have been in like large gatherings where it's like someone says something random and then somebody else buys in on it, and it's like everybody buys in, and it's just like, now we're doing this, okay, wow, all right.
Totally.
Here we go.
Mhm.
Right?
And you're
Right?
like, "Oh, okay."
Right? And it's great when you're at like Camp GLP or something, and you're,
Yeah.
dancing around with unicorns and, and rainbows and all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
But there are sometimes in our life that we will find ourselves in situations, what, geez, how the hell did I get here? Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because, because somebody was leading, but you weren't, right?
Yep. Yeah, totally.
Wow.
I think
Oh,
that really brings up, this idea of, oftentimes I think leadership, maybe more in school level, but I don't know, actually, take that back. It's like, oftentimes the leader is indicated by the loudest person in the room, or,
right.
just like by default, if you have the loudest voice, then you're
Right.
sort of deemed the leader. And I think there is so much opportunity to open up that idea of leadership,
Right.
to also incorporate and celebrate the quiet leaders, and
Right.
the people, um, not talking loudly, but making space.
Right.
And yeah, just really shifting the idea of the label of leader, I guess, is maybe the point
Right.
of that statement.
Hmm.
And I do think that people really, I'm going to speak for everybody generally, but like the sense that I get from society right now is that um, we're really looking for authenticity, but authenticity in a way that's also heart centered,
Right.
so that
Got it.
there's space where everybody can show up as themselves, and it's celebrated and it's exciting and it's all part of this bigger picture. Mm.
Right. No, I totally get it. And because it reminded me of some of my early leadership days where I got in one of my reviews, and I didn't understand it at the time, but I really get it now, that, I was available, but I wasn't accessible.
Mm, mm.
And so, it's like, oh, I have an open door,
Policy.
policy and all that, the things that we
Hmm.
say, right? But if somebody came through that door and I was in the middle of something, it's like, what? Right?
Totally. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Right? Right? It's like, so it's just like, nothing, right? I'm just going to go back to my desk, type of
Hmm.
thing. And so really, and I think that's what you were pointing to, or what I got from what you were saying is that I think we are asking for, our leaders are the people around us that have some level of responsibility that we've given to them, or they kind of have, is that there's some authenticity, that they will admit that, hey, this this is difficult now and I'm trying to figure it out. I don't have all the answers, and we'll figure it out together, and we can, and I'm listening, and all that, and we can kind of work through it. I think for the most part, people will give grace for that. But when leaders act as if they know everything, and then the next week they say something totally different, and it's like, well, okay, what the hell? Right.
Yeah.
And then it's
Nobody
like, okay, don't
disagree.
listen to anything else that I said last week, but listen to this. And it's like,
Hmm.
really?
Hmm.
And it's like, and then next week it's like, all right. Yeah, I'm not listening to anything that you're
Yeah.
saying. It looks to me that I need to figure this out for myself. I need
Hmm.
to lead, right? And I
Hmm.
think in some cases that's what me, thinking about running for president was all about.
Hmm.
It was, I need to step up in my leadership. I need to lead. I need to show up. And if that means I need to be the president of the United States so I can unlock and inspire and do, this country, so
Hmm.
we can have different conversations, that's what I'm up to.
Hmm.
That's what I'll stand for. So it is that type of thing that, when we really know ourselves, we will step into like some big stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's like, oh, geez, what? It's like, but then
Hmm.
are we willing? And like you said before, it's like, we can't like unlearn that, unknow that. It's like,
Hmm.
okay. But at the same time, I've recognized in myself where I make a conscious effort that, yeah, I'm not going to be leading today, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I know I can, I know I probably should, but I'm not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'll
Totally.
deal with the consequences of that, right?
Hmm.
Or like,
Hmm.
I can deal with it today. I'll clean it up tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I will be leadership, but I'm not going to do anything with it right now. I'll just,
Right.
no, I'm just joking. But yeah, completely. I think there is when I first saw the word lead as our word for this conversation, I immediately thought about um, your like inclination to want to step into the role of president of the United States. And I think there's a lot to be said for taking that concept and that label and that responsibility, and bringing it back to the each present moment. Like maybe tomorrow
Right.
seems a little much to just be like, now you're the president. But
Right.
that you're even if you never decide to do that down the line, you've created this kind of like runway um,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
space to see where it all takes you.
Right. There's a conversation that I was having on another call about being conscious, right?
Mm.
Or conscious leadership, or just being conscious in our life. And there was something that came up around. It wasn't just the bigness of our life, but making a difference in the world, right?
Mhm.
How one person can make a difference in the world, and how sometimes that just seems like that is just like too big. That's too much, right? That
Mhm.
it's like I want to make a difference in my life, in my house, right? It's like let's
Yeah,
start
yeah.
there,
Yep.
instead of the world. But what I got from that, and I think because this you reminded me of that by what you were saying, the runway, is that the more that we accept or embrace I want to make a contribution in the world. That's what my leadership is, right? The
Mhm.
bigness, the large part of it. Then it gives us the runway to be in our life, to do how I'm going to show up in my business, how I'm going to make a difference in my relationships,
Mhm.
the more that we acknowledge the big, the more that the other things become manageable.
Mhm.
If we don't acknowledge the big, the presidency of the United States or the world,
Mhm.
those then my marriage becomes my world, right? My marriage becomes,
Mhm.
oh my God, there's just so much I got to do. Then
Mhm.
it's like nothing. It's like, you know what? I just need to talk to my wife, right?
Yeah.
It's easy, right? Right?
That seems simple,
I
yeah.
mean, right. It's
Mhm.
all that other kind of stuff. But because and like I said, I use we, but it's like for myself, because I was so kind of in this micro way of looking at my life and making a difference in these quote unquote small areas, even though they were big small areas, the larger thing, making a difference in the world, causes me to show up differently in the other areas of my life.
Mhm.
And it's like, and it's not like I'm like cleaning up all my skeletons before I run for president or something like that, but it's
Mhm.
but it's more of really it becomes manageable. And it's like it I still chuckle when I say that, hey, I'm not running for president, however I'm starting this 50 state initiative that is that I want 1 million people and $5 billion in it. Yeah, I can
Yeah, you're
manage
like
that, right?
so
It's like,
so like
what?
president level, but not, without the title. Yeah.
Right. So it's just
Yeah.
like, what?
It's so funny.
So it's like,
Mhm.
but that is, I wrote that we have to find the absurdity in our big dreams and
Mhm.
just like laugh about it. The more that
Mhm.
we can laugh about it, the more that we can kind of embrace it and kind of like run with it.
Mhm.
And that's that it's just like so funny and so great. And I think that's what our lead or our leadership is causing us. It
Mhm.
is that personal, that self that's within us to say that, hey, I am unique. And like the card said, I am complete. I got everything I need. Let's go. Right.
Yeah, let's do
Right.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Completely.
Be you and the world will adjust.
Mhm.
Got it. Right.
And you're like, perfect. I'm gonna
Right.
get that
And it
tattooed on my arm. Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
it is really that's what leading is. And it's
Mhm.
that lead causes the individual to show up. I mean, that's what I got. So I hope
Yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah. Well,
wow.
totally. When you were talking about your the to me now, when I think about running for president versus the everything is possible, it feels very much like running for president feels more singular, and the everything is possible is like the scale is actually kind of the same, uh,
Right.
but it's actively and purposefully including the group and the everybody to come with you, as opposed to just being
Right.
like a floating figurehead to some extent. So I kind of
Right.
now, in retrospect, doesn't surprise me that you were like, okay, well, maybe not this thing right now, but definitely this thing where I'm stepping into my version of leadership and I'm bringing everybody kind of up with me. And I want
Right.
other people to step up as leaders to work with me and to work with everybody, and like, let's all just shine together in that, like,
Right.
mhm. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's really how when we step into our leadership or our lead or become aware of ourselves, how um how things show up and how and it's kind of they're more connected than we think.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'll speak for myself. That for me, I was like me saying that, hey, I'm running for president caused me to get to the place of everything is possible.
Mhm.
And you would think it would have been in reverse, but I
Yeah.
needed to have that one to get to the other, which was
Mhm.
I don't. So I want to say this is really what I want to do here. Really,
Mhm.
what I want to do is to call people to their leadership and kind of take care of how we're governing ourselves and how our cities are changing and how making a difference in our relationship. Um, and and it's like, if I need to do that from the president's seat, I'll do that. But now I'm going to do it from a bigger seat,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Type of thing. If I need to step
Totally.
back and be president,
Yeah, like, I
I'll
guess.
make
Yeah.
you know, I'll make that sacrifice.
Totally.
Right?
Amazing.
Oh boy,
That's
the
so
things that
good.
goes through my head, right?
Yeah, I support it. Fully on board. Yes. Yeah.
I think we could talk about this for hours because like my leader is showing up, and it's
Yeah, I
like, okay,
know.
what can you do? But is there anything that's come up in this conversation that you want to leave with everyone?
Mm, I think just really the idea of challenging the conventional, like, captain of the football team leader, and
Hmm.
realize that there's so much more nuance to being a leader,
Hmm.
and that there's really space for everybody to step into their own version of leadership, even
Right.
if they'd never hold the official title of leader. It doesn't mean you're not still leading in some facet of your life. And yeah, I think that's really an important thing.
Yeah. I totally get that. It's like it was one of those things that it was like it was in my head. I read it in Brene Brown, but I think within this conversation, it really got you know lead or leadership is not it is a label and it's not a label, right? it
Hmm.
is it is an
Hmm.
action, right? It's a
Yep.
call. It's it is we are all born to lead, right? Because we were born, right?
Yes. You exist.
Right.
Hmm.
Right, you exist to lead.
Hmm.
Geez, maybe that's another course. I'm getting all these ideas.
I love it. Hmm.
But so I have your website up there. Is there anything on there that people look out for, or just kind of connect with you and
Yeah, I mean, you
uh,
can find
okay.
a lot of my musings about life and uncertainty, and also my own cancer journey, if any one of you are cancer survivors, and just the world, how to live a meaningful life, on my blog. And, I do one on one coaching, and there are a million sunset photos because I love sunsets.
Right. I love sunset too, so I
Yeah.
I need to go just for that. So that's
Perfect.
yeah.
Hmm.
So that's it's like we were talking about somebody asked, I don't know if it was like uh like an icebreaker or something. What do you like, sunsets or sunrises?
Mm.
And at first I was like, sunrise, because I've been on the beach sometimes and got up for the sunrise, and it's just
Mhm.
like, it's for me, I thought it was like breathtaking, because it goes from
Yeah.
like, it's like pitch dark to like you can
Mhm.
kind of see something, and then it's like, whoa, where did
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happened there? Type of thing. You blink, and then it's like, okay, I'm up, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
sometimes that's how I wake up, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
but sunsets for me, the reason why I love them, they're so gradual. It
Mhm.
seems like you're just like in it, and you're like experiencing a sunset. For me, I don't know. I don't know if
Mhm,
that's what you love
mhm.
about them, or anything
Oh,
of
yeah, the
that.
slowness I love, and the colors.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah,
the
totally.
colors that are great. So like I said, I'll just go from that. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. We need to come back on and have conversation about sunset. Right.
Yeah,
But yeah, so thank you very much. We will say our goodbyes in the green room.
amazing.
But
Thank
this
you so
is,
much for having me on.
yeah, this is definitely been great. And helped me celebrate episode number 99. you know
Yay!
um I yeah, it's like, um turning the clock, and just kind of doing that. Nine, is an important number to me. It's my favorite number.
Mm,
um and so I got two of them today, and this
yeah,
conversation, and being encouraged to be myself and step into my leadership. And I think that's what moving forward is all about. And so I am so glad that you shared episode 99 with me.
very
So
exciting. I'm so glad I was number 99.
right, so great. I'll talk to you soon.
Amazing.
Okay. Wow. um yeah, so how does lead show up for you? I think that was very, very interesting. That I really, I knew that there was an element of stepping into myself, and the order that, because my reading of Brene Brown's book, which is a good book, Dare to Lead, which is, I think it was for her business clients. But what I got out of it was dare to be yourself. That's really what the book is. And it's like, if we are ourselves, we can then step into our lead. um, it is my desire that this conversation brought value to your life. And if you want to have conversations like this, just contact me at iamwilliambrown.com, and sign up for an introductory coaching session. I am a business life coach. And so, me, I have to do things differently. And the business life coach means that I have business conversations with a listening for your life. So the more that I listen to what's going on in your life, to see how life is occurring to you, the more you're able to show up in your business, in your work, in your relationships, and for yourself. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you tomorrow on episode 100. Thank you.